Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest RE017, where I take old stories and update them to modern standards for your enjoyment. This particular story is called The Spark, written by RegalLegalEagle. Urgif 4535. I stared at the words on the side of the wall. Why did they even bother painting it up there in the first place? Where else would they go? Who was leaving this place? A planetoid this size was most efficiently mined by 3,000 miners, and so 3,000 miners had. No more, no less, with just enough families around to keep the population where it needed to be. The Archaeid Empire wasn't interested in ferrying slaves around if they didn't have to. The current number of miners was even displayed on most of the walls, a constant reminder that when the number dropped, more were expected to pick up the tools and get to work. Day in, day out. You work the mines just long enough to die, and then you get replaced. Mine collapsed, industrial accident, ghost lung, or being beat to death by an angry overseer. The cause made no difference to the Archaeid, so long as the quotas were met and the populations remained stable. There was something like 1,500 tarmacs, since the sightless bugs didn't need light to get around in the mines. Roughly 1,000 Kershaks and Bershaks, since the symbiotic creatures were strong, but a good Bershak lived 3 times as long, meaning the Archaeids could recycle many of the parasites with new hosts and get new miners with experience of an old one. I'm not as familiar with the last 499, however. The Archaeids had just conquered some new nation of mixed races, so I was still getting to know them. But the last one, number 3,000, that was my dad. Him and Doc were the only 2 other humans I knew. Not much was left of one race brave and stupid enough to stand against the Archaeid. Pirates, criminals, and miners. That's all that remained. I sighed softly as I started to wander the halls of level 2 while waiting for Dad to finish up with the dock. They'd have to move quickly after if they wanted to get to the mess hall. I hated level 2. Storage, machine shop, docks, med bay. It was always quiet. Much preferred staying on level 3 or 4 with everyone else. Being the only human kid had made me stand out, but I knew how to make friends. Lately, though, my friends had been avoiding me. I knew why, of course. All the Archaeids had to say about humans was how dangerous humans adults were. How often they were degenerates, murderers, how they tortured and committed acts of mass violence. It always seemed like they just didn't want any species muscling in on their turf. Besides, it had to be crap. Doc and Dad were the 2 nicest people on the station. Everyone looked at them for help and guidance. No human was allowed a management position in the mine, but everyone knew if the Kizik or Nurm were stumped, they'd give Dad a visit. Plus, Doc was human. Somehow, he'd gotten a real education, knew lots about other Xenos and medicine and the like. The Archaeids normally didn't let slaves have a doctor, but their station was more efficient, which meant Taskmaster got more commendations, which made him happy. What was taking so long? I was tired of waiting. Whenever I was alone with my thoughts, I got antsy. I pushed open the door to Doc's office just as Dad coughed, and I saw a great cloud escape his lips. Doc turned away, even though he had a protective mask on. No! The 2 looked and saw me standing at the doorway. Son! Dad got up, buttoning his shirt. I told you to wait outside. You've got ghost lung. That couldn't be right. Dad couldn't get the lung. He couldn't. I didn't need you finding out. Doc, how bad is it? I looked to the Doc for answers. Doc, don't tell him, Doc, Dad growled. He's gotta know, Doc said, looking from Dad to me. He's been hiding it very well for a while, but it's bad. He doesn't have long if he stays in the mine. Then I'll take his place. No, you're 17. You're not ready. For what? For working to death in the mines? And what am I not ready for? I've seen the work. I know it won't be easy, but I can do it. We'd had this argument plenty of times before. No, Dad growled, and then began to cough and wheeze furiously. More puffs of grey smoke coming out. Doc, you can't let him go back down there. I won't, Doc soothed. Your father needs time to rest anyway. I'll tell the overseers that he's suffering from several minor fractures, and you're taking over until he's better. That'll keep them from questioning it, and I can keep an eye on him before they find out he's got the lung. Go on, off to dinner now. Get some sleep. You know where to go in the morning. The entire trip to Sector 3, I wasn't thinking much about anything. I was just worried about Dad and working on figuring out something. I really don't know what I was thinking about. Not much of anything. Then I already noticed that when they dumped the slop on my tray, I just kept moving, not even thinking to nod or respond to those talking to me. Rhythm, old horners, they probably tried talking, but I was soon off on my own, shoveling in the slop as I couldn't get anything going through my mind. Somehow, I made it back to our room without remembering what happened in the mess hall or how I'd been moving my feet. I just sat on my bed, looking out the tiny window into the mine entrance down below. Night shift was out there. Like usual, the clouds and dust blocked out the stars, but I could see the mine entrance bright and clear. I must have dozed off while staring, because next thing I knew, they were starting to get light and the bell was ringing. I grabbed my set of steels. Wasn't like there was any other kind of shoes that would fit a human like me. Vest, hard hat, light, tea flask, and rock bread. The line for chow was too long for my taste, and as nervous as I was, I didn't think I could keep it down anyway. I headed out to the mines with most of the old crowd. Those who didn't eat morning chow either, for one reason or another. I could feel the rise in me. Everyone wanted to ask why I was here, but none of them did. When the door opened to the outside, I quickly wrapped the cloth around my face and put my head down, jogging across the open, stopping before I got ran over by one of the massive drone haulers, and then moving again once they'd rumbled past. At the mine entrance, I saw one of the red-powered suited guards. He was holding a data slate and looked from it to me. "You boy, why are you here?" "Doc is looking after my dad. Some fractures need to heal." "You haven't taken any training yet." I don't need it. I was born to dig. That's all humans are good for, right?" The guard laughed, and I could see his mandibles within his helmet twitch at the same thing. "I'm glad that we killed the fight out of you miserable vermin. Get in the mine then, where you belong." He waved me past, and I held my tongue, venturing down into the deep. Mines, day 1. Kst came to talk to me personally. I think he knew about Dad, but never dared say anything. He tried to get me into some light detail, but the RE017 overseers heard I was down here and made sure I got sent straight down to the bottom. Not just that, but down to vein 485, with all the termic miners. I was the only one with a light and the need to see. They were all well-meaning, but spending a shift in the mines, hearing and feeling things chitter and moving around in the dark all around me, well, there was some deep shivers in my bones that had nothing to do with the cold. Of course, the other effect was I stood out like I saw them to the overseer, so whenever there was a slowdown, who do you think that got the lash? It was set to low, but I felt the sting 4 times, and I was tired of it after the first. The others worked harder though, seeing me take their punishment, which just meant the overseer got more production from less work on his part, as if whipping me was work at all. I never thought I'd be as glad as I was for a slot that night, and as soon as my head hit the pillow, I was out. Day 7. Doc says that he's not sure how to get the meds he needs to get Dad better without drawing notice. Says he'll do what he can. So far, they don't really care. I think we've only got about a month before they actually start asking questions. Otherwise, another long day in the dock. I'm down to 2 lashes a day now. When I hear or see the others struggling, I quickly pick up on my own pace, or even step in to help them. That way, we don't actually slow down, and he's got less excuse to use the whip. I wish we had more water. The mine dust leaves everything in my mouth feeling gritty. Day 12. Kusk said I was doing so good and the overseers couldn't keep me in vein 485. They moved me to 487 and into more light. The problem is, it's the new guys. There's 3, maybe 4 species I don't know as well. They're not great miners. 10 lashes today, and I swear none of the offenses were my fault. But they like whipping humans. We can take more punishment, and we were the only ones who gave them a trouble, back when we were a united species with a nation, and our own planets and the like. I'll see what I can do to get them into shape. Day 16. I saw the Taskmaster today. I knew that he was big, but seeing is different than imagining. Beat 3 new species to death. I'm not sure it was their fault the drill broke. I'm really not. Didn't matter to him, of course. Just grabbed them and, well, he beat them to death. Screaming and ranting about mistakes costing the quotas and the like. He doesn't wear a helmet like the others. And I think he enjoys seeing everyone quake in fear at the sight. The scars, those teeth, that ugly mug in general. I didn't get lashed today. They were too busy yelling at the others. I wasn't allowed near the real tools yet. Just a last pick, like always. Either way, a day without lashes is nice. Tomorrow, we'll have 3 fresh faces, and I suspect a lot more lashes. Day 18. My muscles have started to grow, I think. I hurt a lot, and on the day off a week we get, I just rest and sleep. But maybe as I keep at it, things will change. A couple friends came by. Their parents seem to think that working in the mines means I'm not a threat. But I don't have any energy to really do much. They talk about what's been going on, what I've missed. I hope none of them get selected for the mine. Yasern said that the avian Xeno I saw likes some guy. The others tried to keep him quiet, but I just laughed. Sure, she looked cute, but she was not human. I realize now it doesn't matter. Even without the ghost lung, my dad's old and so is Doc. So I'll be the last human alive on the stupid rock, sooner or later. Day 21. It's been 3 weeks now. They say that this is the fastest anyone's been moved up from a pick to a shoulder draw. It's heavy, but I can use it and fix it on my own. No team required. The overseers can't argue with efficiency. The battery pack also means no more lashes. Small favors though, since the damn thing is hot. Day 31. Been busy. Work, eat, sleep. Just about all I can do is string along thoughts to get from one of those things to the other. 2 cave-ins this last week. None in my section. I've been telling him which way to dig. Not like officially, of course. Just saying things like, now I'm going to dig this way. I've got a good feeling. And they know enough to follow my lead. Doc says Dad's tests are looking better, which is good. He didn't cough once while we spoke. Just tried to tell me all the stuff he's said a million times. I'll ask Tisk to let him know I'm doing fine. Day 45. Another cave-in. Something's pushing Taskmaster, and I don't know what. 2 more beat to death on top of who we lost in the cave-in. I hope like crazy that I don't see any of my friends in here tomorrow. Day 46. Hi, Gurn, you poor, stupid bastard. Why you? I talked to Nissa, got him assigned to my work crew. He's Tesket's battery keeper. Gotta keep an eye on him. Day 52. Doc says they're starting to ask about Dad. He tried to play it off, like I was taking his place, but they weren't having that. It's their call if someone can retire, and they're not letting my dad retire. Something about the quotas. Then Taskmaster is really getting some orders about cranking up production. Day 63. Dad says I've really filled out in the last 2 months. I've had to agree the work has made me strong. Not strong enough to keep from being tired all the time, but still, I'm getting better. Not good enough to save Hirgen from getting lashed, though. I keep telling him to pay more attention, to keep focus on the pack at all times. He just doesn't quite get it. I feel bad, but I'm not getting whipped because I'm doing my work, and then some. Day 75. Dad's finally had to come back down. Nissim and Kizik somehow convinced the overseers to let him have minor duties. He's basically guiding the vein digs now. We'll meet those damn quotas, all right. Day 80. Production is up. We're doing good. No cave-ins. Quotas are being met. That's all it took for him to get us back on track. See them try and say humans are worthless now. Day 90. Why are you here on your day off? I asked Dad as we were up on the main hollow before I'd head down to the vein. I want you to go to the blasting team. Watch how they work when they place charges. They've got you slated for demolitions work soon, and I'd prefer you to watch it happen before they give you anything that'll go boom. What? Are you afraid I'll use it to make my escape? Let me just stuff it up my pants and use it to blast me out of this rock. We laughed, and he shook his head before I saw Cresta waving at me from across the way. I dodged one of the drone haulers and made it over to him before looking back and seeing Taskmaster next to Dad. I froze. Where had he come from? The massive Xenos spoke to Dad, and I kept watching. Don't cough. Don't cough. The Taskmaster was nodding about something. Was he actually going to let Dad become a real foreman? The things we could dig up if he was really in charge. Maybe it was a good thing that the Taskmaster had something pushing on him. Then, one of the drone haulers drove past with a particularly dusty load, and I saw Dad cough. The fog came out. Not as bad as before, but... No! I was starting to run forward before I felt Cresta and his team pull me back out of the way of the next drone hauler. I saw Taskmaster pull his firearm free just as my dad looked up. No! The drone hauler blocked them from sight, but I heard the echo of the shot, and once it was past, I saw my father's body crumpled on the floor of the mine. I pulled free of the crew's grip, running across just before the next hauler hit me. I was making noise, but I couldn't honestly tell what it was I was trying to say. As I got close, something hit me hard in the gut. I collapsed just feet from my father's body. I tried to reach out for him, pull myself closer, but strong metal hands were pulling me away. I was crying, sobbing, tears and snot running down my face as dust and dirt got stuck to it all. I was hauled up by 2 guards as I kept trying to reach my dad.
Very disappointing. I thought you came down to start learning more skills, to improve yourself and make a bid at getting assigned a mate. But instead it seems you were trying to hide this weakness.
I looked up at the Taskmaster, vision blurry with tears, confused by his words.
How very extremely irritating.
He leaned down, screaming in my face.
I had plans for him, plans for you, and now that he didn't have time to teach you everything. The quotas won't stop.
I didn't see the backhand coming, but I felt it. Pain searing across my face as his talons cut into my flesh, blood now mixing with tears.
You pathetic wretches are always such a disappointment.
I was in shock. I couldn't think. I just felt pain. Pain. Sadness. No. Anger. Not yet.
Take him to the doctor. I won't punish him for his father's weakness, but I won't reward him. No more days off. You're either working a vein or learning a new skill. I'm tired of the old rules. You'll learn quickly if you don't want the others to suffer for your mistakes.
Taskmaster waved dismissively as the guards began to drag me back towards the surface. I saw the incineration team moving towards my father's body. They weren't willing to risk letting the ghost lungs spread. I don't really remember much else that day. Doc patched me up, but I have scars for sure. While I was getting tended to in the med bay, one of the guards brought up a small steel container and handed it to me. On the side was written, "A reminder." It was my father's ashes.
You don't need your old room now. You're staying on this level, room 13, the guard growled.
That's just a closet. I heard Doc protest, but I was staring at the container.
He needs nothing more than a bed and the books we give him. Taskmaster says you learn quick, or the others suffer.
On the wall, I could see the mine account, 2,999. Day 120. It's been a month since. Day 132. It's a day off, so I'm reading more manuals and books about mining and the gear. It's my birthday. I'm alone in the closet. That's now my bedroom. Happy birthday to me. I'm 18, an adult. Day 145. I'm the best blaster there is by none. The others won't work with me anymore, though. They say I'm too dangerous. They're probably right. But it gives me time to be alone. Day 167. I nearly killed myself. I was careless. I knew it was too close to the seam. I brought down a lot of ore. I was trapped in the dark for 4 hours while they dug me out. I'd sort of hoped that I might just suffocate. But they did get to me. The overseer's only remark,
"Good job, that's a lot of ore. Back to work."
I get it now. I don't want to die. I want them to die. I'm done. I'm not going to live out my life like this. I'm just not. Day 193. Most of my friends are in the mines. I don't care anymore. I'll free them soon. The overseers say I'm working harder than ever. I can fix machines, guide tools, and blow open new paths like a berserk at the end of his days. I told them I was born to do this. What I planned next, I'm not born to do. But I will do it. I've been studying. I've been reading. I've been planning. 1 day a week I get 3 hours in an old side tunnel near the surface. I lie about what I'm doing, but they won't care anyway. I'm digging just a last pick. I'm getting close to the maintenance room beneath the arcade's quarters. A fraction of the number of the rest of us, with 3 times the space and all the accommodations they desire. They're getting soft. They're getting lazy. Day 243. Been so damn busy. Getting close to my goal. Gotta be careful now. I can't trust anyone. I've seen them get beaten to death, whipped to shreds. They won't stand up. They all think arcades are invincible. They're wrong. The arcades are always so careful about their whips and weapons in their building. Why would they need those? We've got mining tools. They'll learn soon. Day 289. I wanted to show the others our tormentors aren't immortal. It was perfect. I knew that fat, lazy overseer in vein 473 always hangs back. I set off an explosion along a seam 3 veins over that disturbed the rock. Crushed him, just like planned. No one else was hurt. I was hauled in front of the taskmaster in the main cave before everyone else. I begged and pleaded, but I had no idea that would happen. I'd been pushing myself hard, trying to learn quick like he'd asked. I thought about my dad and cried a bit. Really sold the performance, I think. He said that he'd be kind and spare my life, but my ignorance was not an excuse. 50 lashes, medium power, for everyone. My sobbing was real before long. My back was in ribbons. It was worth it. Day 300. It wasn't worth it. They all talk about how crazy it was, but they seem to think the only way they can die is if someone drops 10 tons of rocks on their heads. I have to show them. They have to see. I've begun sneaking out tools, picking locks. I've got some caches ready and know how to open up more. Day 312. Another day off. I was reading in my room when a guard suddenly opened the door and shoved a Xeno inside. "Heard you used to like this one." He laughed and left. I was confused as hell, until I recognized the avian. Her clothes were torn. She was crying. I didn't know how far they'd gone, but I sure as hell didn't ask. They were mocking me, hurting people I liked. I wasn't sure. I pulled her close, tried to soothe her. She wasn't very fluent in Archaish, but I tried to convey what I could. I sung for her, that old lullaby Mom sang to me when I was little, before they split her up from Dad and I. She seemed to like that. I just held her close till she seemed better and told her to stay strong. I didn't tell her the plans or anything, just in case. Day 326. I broke into the maintenance room last night. Perfect spark. Got no idea how long it'll last, so I have to make this work. I took Dad's ashes to the dock. I asked him if there was still ghost lung and dust in it. He wasn't sure, but figured there might be a bit. Then I asked him if he could make sure that there was, and left. I know he's confused, but I know he won't talk. Day 330. Doc gave me back the ashes. Didn't say a word, but he also handed me a protective mask. Day 337. I dumped the ashes into the air ventilation machine. See how they like breathing in the dust? I also installed the bomb and covered up my tracks. Day 342. A lot of the overseers have a nasty cough these days. Day 345. I've got no idea what our whole world was really called, but my mom used to tell me how it was beautiful. Her mother told her that, at least. Blue skies, green trees, birds singing. It sounded nice. Even though I have no idea what it was really called, I know that today it would have been 1 year back there from the day I first entered the mines to work. It's the last day I enter the mines. I wait for most of the shift to leave before I trigger the bomb. People are screaming. The ground is shaking. I scream about a big collapse. Tell everyone with an able body to get to the mine. We gotta help. In the mines, of course, people will be shaking around and scared, but they're fine. People don't notice the arcade building shaking harder and the smoke pouring out of it. As everyone gets into the main cave, I start tossing picks, drills, explosives. They're confused. One of the overseers sees me and walks over, but before he can say anything, I've driven the last pick straight into his helmet. I can hear the gasps around me. "Pick up your tools. You're going to need them. I just hit their home. They're gone to mortal. They are our captors. It is up to us to bring them down." I saw 2 overseers rush out of one of the side tunnels and heft up an impact driver I removed the safety on. The bolt went straight through the chest before pinning him to the wall. The second screamed before a second bolt went through his head. I dropped the impact driver and hurled a charge at the entrance to Vein 34, where they had break rooms set up. 4 of them got smeared across the walls. The others were scared and confused. They need to see. They needed to fight. There was a massive roar as I saw Taskmaster burst free from the smoke coming out of the tunnel I used to sneak into their maintenance room.
You!
He pointed at me and charged. I ducked, jumped, and swiped with a digging claw. I heard him scream as I dug 3 deep gouges across his face. He'd have scars, just like mine now. I turned and tried to leap for the impact driver, but he grabbed me. The suit made him too fast, but I bet he wished he had a helmet now. The talon squeezed my throat as he lifted me in the air. I could see more guards coming down the main ramp and out of the tunnels, but they were seriously outnumbered by the other miners standing around. Taskmaster was focused on me.
I'll torture you for years. The pain will be unending and nothing will stop it. I will take you to our home world and put you on display.
This was where my plan ended. I gasped, hands pulling on his forearm to try and take the weight off my throat.
Maybe I'll see your mother there and show her what a real species can do in bed.
He screamed in my face and tightened his grip. Everything hurt for a moment, but I felt a snap. And then it all went numb. He tossed me to the ground, but I couldn't feel it. I was just looking up at everything from the floor. He rubbed a hand across the bleeding cuts on his face.
Back to work, all of you!
He screamed at the miners. But I saw them stare back. They looked at the dead guards. They looked at his bleeding face. They looked at me.
Oh, you heard him?
An overseer with a whip stepped forward, raising his arm to lash out. But Caster stepped forward and drove a pick through the overseer's faceplate, just like I had earlier. The entire area was silent. Then it all exploded. The miners were rushing forward as the arcades either died or started to run. I could see the fear flash across Taskmaster's face. Not used to that emotion, you bastard. Get used to it. I wish I could have said that. Someone was soon kneeling near me, perhaps trying to help me, but I was fading now. I could still hear the screaming and yelling. There were other explosions. Finally! I'd show them the way. I knew. For generations, they'd been using the tools of their oppressors to dig in the ground. They'd never seen that those tools could be used to free themselves. Sometimes, all it took was a spark. Today, a man died, but a rebellion was born. Rebellion, Day 1. End of story. I would just quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Dragon Soup, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Red Panda 121, Leslie 517, Bushmaster 177, Caspar Arnholt, Cam Maxwell, Sans the Skeleton, Lightjock, Dragzoon WRE, and Lord Azrakal. Thank you very much.